What if I told you the secret to massive success wasn't some huge heroic effort, but a series of tiny, almost invisible steps? Well, that's the core idea from James Clear's incredible book, Atomic Habits. And today, we're going to break down how the smallest changes can lead to the most remarkable results. This quote, it's everything. Clear calls habits the compound interest of self-improvement. And it's such a perfect metaphor, right? Just like putting money in a bank, these small, consistent deposits of effort, they don't look like much at first. But over time, they compound into something absolutely massive. And remember, this works both ways, for good habits and for bad ones.
To really see this in action, let's look at one of the most amazing turnarounds in sports history. For the better part of a century, professional cycling in Great Britain was, well, to put it nicely, a complete non-factor on the world stage.
I mean, this wasn't just a slump. It was a century of mediocrity. Think about it. A single Olympic gold medal in 100 years. And in the Tour de France, the absolute pinnacle of the sport, a British rider had never, ever won. How in the world do you even begin to fix a problem that big? Well, the change started in 2003 with this man, Dave Brailsford. He was the new performance director, but he wasn't focused on some giant, revolutionary overhaul. No, instead, he brought in a really simple but incredibly powerful philosophy. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains. Sounds fancy, but the idea was super simple. Just find a 1% improvement in absolutely everything you do. Brailsford believed that if they could do that, all those tiny, tiny gains would add up. They'd compound into a massive competitive advantage. And when I say they looked everywhere, I mean everywhere. They redesigned bike seats to be more comfortable. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip. They even hired a surgeon to teach the cyclists the right way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. They tested massage gels, found the perfect pillow for each rider's sleep, and even painted the inside of their team truck white, just so they could spot tiny bits of dust that might affect the finely tuned bikes. Nothing was too small to improve. So, the big question, did it work? Oh yeah, it worked. Between 2007 and 2017, British cyclists won a staggering 178 world championships. They completely dominated the Olympics and won the Tour de France 5 times in 6 years. All of that from the power of tiny 1% gains compounding over time. So, how did this happen? It wasn't magic. It was math. This is the incredible power of 1%. You know, it sounds good in theory, but how does getting just a tiny bit better each day really lead to such dramatic, game-changing results? Okay, get ready for this, because the math is just mind-blowing. If you get just 1% better every single day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. No, because of compounding, you end up nearly 38 times better. That is the explosive power we're talking about. You know, we all expect progress to be this nice, steady, straight line, but it's not. James Clear uses this brilliant analogy of an ice cube. Imagine an ice cube in a room that's slowly warming up. At 28 degrees, nothing. 29, 30, 31 degrees, still nothing. But then, at 32 degrees, it starts to melt. That 1 degree shift wasn't the cause. It was just the trigger. All those previous degrees were building up the potential. Your daily habits are those degrees, quietly building up potential for your big breakthrough moment. Okay, so we get the theory, but how do we actually do this in our own lives? Well, James Clear lays out 4 simple laws, and we're going to start with law number 1, make it obvious. We all like to think we're in control, but so much of our day is just run on autopilot, simply reacting to the cues around us. So the key isn't to have more willpower, it's to design an environment where the right choice is the most obvious, easiest choice to make. A hospital cafeteria proved this perfectly. They didn't run some big, drink healthy campaign. Nope. They just put bottles of water in all the refrigerators that used to only hold soda. And the result? Soda sales plummeted and water sales shot up. They just made the healthy choice the obvious choice. All right, next up is law number 2. Make it attractive. This one taps into one of our deepest, most primal human needs, the need to belong. We are literally wired to fit in with our tribe. Check this out. A 32-year study of 12,000 people found that your chance of becoming obese jumps by a whopping 57% if one of your close friends does. That's insane, right? We just naturally soak up the habits of the people around us. Your tribe really does determine your habits. And that leads us perfectly into law number 3, make it easy. The simple fact is, our brains are wired to be lazy. They want to conserve energy, so we will almost always gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. Your entire day is just a series of what Clear calls decisive moments. You know, those tiny choices that are like a fork in the road. When you walk in the door after work, do you turn left toward the couch or right towards your gym bag? Do you pick up your phone or do you pick up a book? Each choice is a tiny pivot that can lead to a productive day or not so much. So the secret is to rig the game in your favor. For your good habits, you want to reduce friction, make them ridiculously easy. If you want to run in the morning, lay out your clothes and shoes the night before. But for bad habits, you do the exact opposite. You increase the friction. If you watch too much TV, unplug it after you use it and hide the remote in another room. Make the good habits easy and the bad habits hard. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, law number 4, make it satisfying. This is all about making sure your brain gets a little reward, a little hit of pleasure right after you do the good habit. This is so important. The cardinal rule of behavior change is this: what is immediately rewarded gets repeated. What is immediately punished gets avoided. Our brains are built for instant gratification. The pleasure of eating a donut is immediate. The benefit of going to the gym, that's way off in the future. And that's the problem. So the trick is to give yourself an immediate reward for your good habits, to trick your brain into connecting that good behavior with immediate satisfaction. Now, those 4 laws, that's the how-to. But this next part, this is the why. And honestly, it's the deepest and most powerful idea in the whole book. True behavior change isn't about the things you do, it's about the person you become. It's about your identity. This is a complete and total mindset shift. The goal isn't just to write a book, it's to become a writer. The goal isn't to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. You see the difference? Outcomes are about what you get, identity is about who you are. And when a habit is part of your identity, you don't have to force yourself to do it anymore. This is the ultimate form of motivation. Because every time you go to the gym, you're going more than just exercising. You are casting a vote for the identity of, I am a healthy person. Every time you write one page, you're casting a vote for, I am a writer. Your habits are literally the evidence that builds your identity, vote by vote. So, as we wrap this all up, the question isn't just what do you want to achieve? The real, more powerful question to ask yourself is this: what type of person do I want to become? Because your habits, those tiny atomic actions you take every single day, they are the path to becoming that person.